And I want to thank you and Senators Whitehouse and Senators Begich for joining me yesterday in releasing a letter which had 29 signatures on it from members of the United States Senate, and that letter was pretty simple. What it said is that Social Security has not added a nickel to the deficit because Social Security, of course, is funded by the payroll tax. And it said that Social Security has a $2.7 trillion surplus, can pay out all benefits to eligible Americans for the next 21 years. So that it is absolutely wrong and bad public policy to be talking about cutting Social Security within the context of deficit reduction when Social Security has nothing to do with the deficit. The reason that we are in a deficit situation today in a significant way, the reason that we have gone a very long way in the wrong direction since January 2001, when Bill Clinton left office with a $236 billion surplus, has nothing to do with Social Security. It has everything to do with Bush and those people who voted for 2 wars and forgot to pay for them, added it to the deficit. Those people who gave huge tax breaks, much of it going to the richest people in this country, forgot to pay for it, passed the Medicare Part D prescription drug program, forgot to pay for it, and a recession caused by Wall Street, which resulted in lower revenue coming into the federal government. Those are the reasons why we're in a deficit, not because of Social Security. And what concerns me, Mr. President, is that 4 years ago, I understand Republicans want to cut Social Security. That's what they do. They're not very sympathetic to Social Security, have opposed Social Security for years, don't believe the government should be involved in retirement security, want to balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, the sick, the children, the poor, give tax breaks to the rich. I understand that. More and more Americans understand that. But I'll tell you what I am concerned about, Mr. President. I am concerned about President Obama. 4 years ago, the President was very, very clear on this issue. And when the President was running for election against Senator McCain, this is what he told AARP, and ironically, he just spoke to AARP, I believe it was today. So 4 years ago, same venue. This is what he said 4 years ago. John McCain's campaign has suggested that the best answer for the growing pressures on Social Security might be to cut cost of living adjustments or raise the retirement age. Let me be clear, I will not do either, end of quote, candidate Barack Obama 4 years ago. Well, Barack Obama is in the White House now. We have people like billionaire Pete Peterson, who's been pushing deficit reduction on the backs of working people for years now, spending huge amounts of money to make sure we do deficit reduction, not by asking the wealthiest people in this country to pay their fair share, by balancing it on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. These guys have come up with a strategy called the chain CPI. Now, nobody in America outside of Capitol Hill knows what the chain CPI is. And what it is a new formulation as to how we determine cost of living adjustments, COLAs, for seniors. And what these economists have decided, these right-wing economists have decided, is COLAs today are formulated in a way that are too generous for American seniors and for disabled veterans. And they want to reformulate how we come up with these COLAs. If they get their way, and I have a great deal of fear that unless some of us stop them, unless the American people stop them, they will in fact get their way. What this will mean is that if you're 65 years of age today, by the time you're 75, you'll lose about $560 a year in your benefits. And if you're 65 years of age today, in 20 years when you're 85, you'll lose $1,000 a year. So let me be very clear. I do not believe that you should move to a deficit reduction on the backs of a senior citizen living on $14,000 or $15,000 a year and take $1,000 away from them and then get on the floor of the Senate and talk about how we have to give more tax breaks to billionaires. I think that is not only morally inexcusable, I think it is bad economics. Bad economics. And what we're talking about in the so-called chain CPI, which will cut benefits for seniors, you're also talking about cutting VA benefits for disabled veterans. So I want to hear all these tough guys here who think we should balance the budget on the backs of the elderly and the children. Let them get up here and tell us why you think that when somebody fought in a war to defend the United States, maybe they lost their legs or their eyes or their arms, you want to cut their benefits and then you want to give tax breaks to billionaires. Well, the American people don't want to do that. So I think we've got to get on the phones right now. We've got to call our senators, and we've got to call members of the House, and we have got to call President Obama. Mr. President, 4 years ago, you told us you weren't going to cut Social Security. Is that still your position? 4 years ago, you came up with an idea that is, in fact, exactly the right idea. You made the point that multimillionaires are contributing the same amount of money into the Social Security Trust Fund as somebody making $110,000. And 4 years ago, you made the point that if we lift that cap, and you don't have to start at 110, you go up to 250. You lift that cap above 250,000, you could bring in enough revenue to fund Social Security for the next 75 years. That was your position, Mr. President, 4 years ago. Is that your position today? Are you going to stand up to the Republicans and the Wall Street folks who want us to cut Social Security? So that is where we are right now. Last point that I want to make. I want to comment on